So serious, that, isn't it? Like a robot. Right. Let me turn off this chat. There may be people coming in, so we'll just have to ignore them. Can't ask them any more questions, really. So we turn off that bar. We make you guys full. So thank you all so much for coming. I'm Carys. Some of you know me, some of you don't. So I'm Carys Rosedale. I am a hypnobirthing teacher and a doula. So I'm a birth doula and a postnatal doula. We've got somebody coming in. Like I said, I'm from Aberystwyth and now I live in Hertfordshire, near St Albans in Harpenden. Hence the link of always kind of the mix of the Welsh and the English on these Zooms. So yeah, I work with people across Europe actually, because it's all been on Zoom, so I've been really lucky. I will start off by just talking a bit about me, talk you through my kind of why I'm here, my birth story. And then I've got some slides so I don't go off plan, because I can talk forever about positive birth. So I've got some slides I'll go through. And then any questions while we're going, drop it in the chat or unmute yourselves. Like, I like these things to be quite casual and open. So please, you know, unmute yourselves and ask any questions along the way. There's no silly question. There's no stupid question. So please have the confidence to ask whatever you want to. Right, let me get my shared screen up. Right, this is what was I meant to put at the beginning, I forgot. Okie doke. So this is me. Remember last year when like everyone stopped shaving, so excuse my other half's beard because it's not the most fashionable. But so I'm Carys. I am a mum of a almost 4-year-old William, and I know people say like it just goes so fast when you have a baby, but it really, really does. Like a minute ago he was on my boob, you know, and now he's like going to school in September. So time just flies. I've got a stepson, Jacob, who is almost 10, and my other half, Owen. So we're both from Aberystwyth, and now we live in Hertfordshire. So today we are, oh, hang on, I've got another person coming in. I can't do the sharing and let people in, that's quite annoying. I'll let her in. So today we're going to be talking about, let me share my screen again. So we're going to have the intro to hypnobirthing. I might ask you guys what you know about it or what you think it might be. We're going to talk about the mind-body connection. And then we're going to talk about how to create a comfortable birth environment. And that could be wherever you want to give birth. I'm not here to tell you what to do, where to have your baby. It's up to you guys. But we're going to talk about kind of the different environments and how to make them comfortable wherever you are. We're going to talk about optimal birth positions, which is really good to have a physiological birth. And then we're going to finish on a really simple breathing technique. We'll all have a little practice. You can turn your cameras off if you think you're going to look like a Wally, don't worry. We'll all be doing it. And then I'll open up the floor to see if there's any questions. And I think I may have, I'm not sure if they're here, please kind of give us a wave if you are, but there were some student midwives coming along today, which is amazing. So if you are the student midwives and you've got, you know, questions not from a pregnant perspective, then please do shout out. So actually first, what I'm going to do is put it into the chat. I know we've all kind of introduced ourselves. Get into the chat. Let me know how you're feeling. And honestly, please be honest, how you're feeling about your birth. So it might be impending and it might be a few months away, but drop in a couple of words that spring to mind when you think about how you're feeling about your birth. And this is a really trustworthy space, so don't worry about excited, that's good. Karen's excited. Excited and nervous. Yeah, that's very normal. Nervous and excited, excited and nervous, excited and worried, got nervous, we've got happy and nervous. Can't wait to do it again. Yes, Laurie, I love that. Excited 1 minute, can't wait to evict the baby a few minutes later. Yeah, I get that. Anyone else, how are you feeling? And this can be dads as well, or partners as well, by the way, because you are kind of, you know, you're part of it as well, guys. So by the way, it's super normal. Whenever I ask this to kind of pregnant people, everyone always says, really, really excited, really, really nervous. And that's really normal. So yeah, one day, like Eileen said, one day you might be super excited, and the next day, like, let's do this, get this baby out my body now. I want my body back. That's good that you're all kind of in that middle. I know there's some people who are just nervous, so hopefully a bit of this will take the nerves off. Right, I'm going to share my screen again and get going. So, what is hypnobirthing? These 3 pictures hopefully give you the answer. I know hypnobirthing is a really silly name. I want to put my hands up and say, I don't like this name. Nobody does. It's a really silly name. It's got all these connotations of kind of like pocket watches swinging or hypnotic kind of chanting. And unfortunately, I can't hypnotize you into having your baby. If I did, I'd probably be a millionaire and you'd have a really great time. So I wish I could, but I can't, unfortunately. So hypnobirthing is a birth preparation. It's a full education of what's happening in your labor, in your pregnancy, in your birth, and postnatally. And it kind of hopefully ticks all the boxes. So hypnobirthing isn't this one kind of size fits all. It can be all lovely and zen, like this lovely lady in her bath with the candles and the salt rock thingies, having a nice time. For me, this is me, could be a C-section. So I ended up having to have an emergency C-section, which obviously wasn't plan A, but because I was pretty chilled, it was absolutely fine. Obviously it was quite a major surgery, but for me it was fine. My other half was a bit more shaken up. And then hypnobirthing is this. So this is a kind of consultant-led, more hospital type of birth, and hypnobirthing helps in that scenario as well. So hypnobirthing helps with all births. If you're having a home birth, if you're having an abdominal C-section, if you're being induced, if you're hoping for things to go naturally and you're going to be in the water, hypnobirthing covers all these things. As a hypnobirthing teacher and a doula, I'm here to empower you, to educate you, to make all the right decisions for you, because all of you will have different ideas of what you want your birth to look like or what choices to make that are really important to you. And nobody should ever tell you what that is. It's really, really important that you never feel kind of coerced or pushed into a direction without being informed. And hypnobirthing really, I think the empowering part comes from the knowledge. I think knowledge is power. But yeah, it's none of this kind of pocket watches or me hypnotizing you. The hypnos part of the word comes from training your brain to be kind of more positive around birth, but also getting yourself into a deeper state of relaxation. So if you've ever done those Calm apps or those Headspace apps where you do the relaxations at nighttime, it's pretty similar to that, but it's obviously talking about pregnancy and birth and things like that. Right. So we have been conditioned, probably since we can't even remember, since we were babies or kids, we've been conditioned to think the birth will look like how we've seen it on the TV, how we see it on social media, or how we've heard it from people that mean well, but the aunties or the people at work who kind of feel like they need to shout about their really awful time. This isn't what birth has to look like. So I know we've got the image of Rachel in Friends, surrounded by doctors, lights are really bright, lying down, screaming her head off. Knocked Up is another good one. She was quite a screamy time. And then people on Instagram, might be that they're showing this really amazing, silent, pain-free birth, or they're kind of showing a really hard time. And I think what is really important to remember is that your birth will never look like anything else you've ever seen. It'll be your story, and it probably won't be what you expect either. Birth tends to go in different directions. But if you're feeling educated and empowered, then you're going to feel calm, kind of whatever route it takes. So yeah, we've been conditioned to think that birth is this, and also probably conditioned to think that it's going to be the most pain you've ever experienced in your life, or it's going to be the most traumatic time. And unfortunately, our brain works in a way where our conscious thinking brain, so the brain we're using now, we're listening, we're talking, we're moving, that's called your conscious brain. And if you think of the analogy of the iceberg, so when you think of an iceberg, the thing that's sticking out the top of the water, it's quite a small amount to actually what is underneath. So underneath the iceberg, under the water, is mammoth, where it's only the kind of peak that sticks out. And that's like your subconscious brain, which is underneath, and your conscious brain. And your subconscious brain So it's massive compared to your conscious brain. Your subconscious brain has kept every memory, everything you've walked past, every conversation you've heard. It's like a database of everything you've ever come across. And most of the time, unless you're consciously looking for positive birth stories, we've heard these awful things. We probably heard it when we were a kid on EastEnders or Neighbours, or I was watching Simpsons with my stepson the other day, and one of the aunties, Selma, is that her name, with the twins, she was having a baby on one of the episodes, and it was like traumatic. So, I probably watched Simpsons when I was 12. So this has all been chucked in there from the kind of day dot. So we're conditioned to kind of be really scared of birth. And it's more common to hear the bad stories than the good stories. And I really do sympathise if somebody's had a traumatic time and they want to offload it to you, but you don't need to hear that. You don't need to be seeing that. What I didn't put on here was kind of one born every minute. If you are pregnant, do not watch this show. I beg you, if you do anything else, don't watch this show when you walk away, because it is dramatised. They don't show you all the ins and outs, and they edit out lots of bits just to make it good TV, basically. You want positive things in your head, and you've got to try and almost do a detox of your subconscious brain during your pregnancy to get out all that negative stuff. Fill it with some good stuff. Fill it with some positive stories. Google positive birth stories. There's thousands. Follow some Instagram accounts. Ask your friends who have had good births to tell you all about it. And that's what you want to be doing while you're pregnant, especially towards the end of your pregnancy. So I do give you permission. It depends how polite you want to be, really. I give you permission to tell people to stop when they're telling you their awful birth story and say, I'm really sorry you had that, but can we talk about that in like November? And insert the month after your baby's due. You're not telling her to pipe down. You are telling her that you'd rather just compare stories once you've had your own. And that's, I suppose, where the hypno side of hypnobirthing comes in, is just trying to condition your brain to be a bit more positive about birth, rather than this stuff that we've been bombarded with. Like that Emma Willis one as well, that drove me mad. Emma Willis birthing the babies, whatever she called it. And I quite like Emma Willis, but it was always a drama. The things that happen once every 2,000 women, they showed that episode. No wonder we're scared of having babies. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a second, because that's going to open in a different screen. So, oh, Karen, we've got some comments. Sorry, my other half said relaxed. Oh, I'm glad. Good. So I'm going to now talk a little bit about the mind-body connection. Let me just find myself. There we are. Mind-body connection. So like we said about our brain and our subconscious brain being all full with stuff, our body and our mind are really connected. So if, I don't know, like me, I get a bit anxious, I always get a bit of a dicky tummy, or my heart starts palpitating, and the anxiety is in my head, yet it does show in your body. And it's really important when you're going into labour that you understand this kind of mind-body connection. Having a baby is a physiological process, so your body knows how to do it. And this has been proved in things like when women are in a coma. There's been pregnant women in comas and they give birth. Their body knows how to do it. Other examples are, I've had clients recently that had some pain relief and had a sleep, and they maybe slept for 3 or 4 hours, and during that time they dilated 5 centimeters. So your body knows how to do it. Like, I don't know, another physiological process would be like sneezing. Like, we don't think about sneezing, your body just does it. Or, if you've got a sick bug and you want to go and vomit, there's no stopping you, is there? There's no holding that vomit in. Your body wants to extract that thing from your body. So that's a physiological process. And having a baby is a physiological process. Like, your body will do it even if you're not conscious. So yeah, other mind-body connections. I'm going to show this funny video. I'm going to show you this video. Bear with me. And I'm going to ask you if your body reacted to it. So let me just open it in the other tab. And let me pause it because it might pop up with an advert. Oh yeah, here's a flipping advert. 1 second.
Is HelloFresh worth the price? Absolutely.
Go away, HelloFresh.
In the beginning, I was doubtful too.
Right. Let me share. I won't share all of it because it goes on for like 10 minutes, but I'll give you a couple of minutes just to see how your body reacts. So let me go along. I'm going to turn the volume up so you can hear it. I'm not going to explain, I'll explain in a minute. Ooh. Hopefully you can all see that. So she's got some lemons and some limes and some spicy chili stuff.
What did she say we had to do? To just think about like our reactions?
Just watch it, yeah.
Cool.
I'm just going to forward it on a little bit. Okay, I think you've got the picture. So take yourself off mute or just drop it in the comment, but like, did anyone have a physical reaction to watching that woman eating her lemons and limes and chili sauce? I know I did.
My mouth started watering.
Yeah, weird, isn't it? So weird. Yeah. Honestly, I watched that video the whole way through once and I was literally like dribbling. I won't do it in front of you guys. Yeah, mouth watering. Yeah. Body went all tingly, like sour, and you get that shiver of sour. You know, sometimes you get that weird feeling here when you have something really sour. Good, I'm glad you all experienced that too. Sometimes I ask that and people are like, huh? But yeah, that's a really basic example of just to show you how your mind and your body, eyes are tingling, Fran. That's a severe reaction. So yeah, how your mind and your body are connected basically. So we were watching a woman eating lemons and limes and chili, whatever, and we start salivating and tingling and shivering. So our mind and our body, especially our gut actually, are really, really interlinked. So what's that got to do with having a baby, you hear me say? So like I said, if your body is literally made to have a baby, like you can do it asleep, why do you think so many people have painful, traumatic, long, complicated, or sometimes a complication different, but labours? Why do you think it's often a really horrible time for some? And you're welcome to take yourself off mute if you wanted to have a conversation.
Yeah, so people have like become conditioned to stuff, and you know, they believe what they see a lot of the time with these things. Like,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Larry said negativity. Yeah, so we're like I just spoke about, we're conditioned to think that birth's going to be awful. So we go in there with, like Larry said, with a negative mind. And obviously our mind and our body are connected. So if we're freaking out in our head because, I don't know, Margaret next door had a bad time or whatever, we're going to be going into labour, fear, 100%. Larry, you've hit the nail on the head. We're going to be going in really worried. So let me start sharing my slides again because I'm going off here. Right. So yes, we are, Larry said it, we are scared. We're scared of birth. To begin with, maybe lots of people get over that and educate themselves, but really we're worried about birth, and especially if you haven't done it before, because it's the fear of the unknown. So we're scared that birth's going to be this painful, traumatic thing. And what happens is our body starts to produce adrenaline. So adrenaline is our fight, flight, or freeze response. And it's a very good hormone because it protects us. I'm not sure if you ever had like a proper adrenaline rush where you've been faced with something really scary. You heard them, I'm not sure if they're true, but there's stories the guys lifting cars off, you know, off people in accidents and stuff. Adrenaline's amazing to protect us. When adrenaline is being produced, it takes all your blood and your oxygen away from your big uterus muscle that needs it to have your baby, and send it round to kind of your lungs and your heart, because your body thinks you're in trouble. It's trying to protect you. Because of that, you get really tense. So the muscles, we all need blood and oxygen to flow to let our muscles work properly. And if that's not flowing properly and we're breathing really shallow because we're panicking, your body becomes really tense, and with that tension becomes pain. So your muscles, your uterus muscle is basically like a big balloon. And when you have your contractions, or your surges as we call them, the muscles that kind of coil around lift your uterus up and open. If there's midwives in here, guys, this is like layman's terms. So every contraction lifts up the muscles, like eek, 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 many contractions. So your uterus opens for baby to be born. Sounds quite simple. It's probably more complicated when you're doing a midwifery degree. But if your muscles are tense and you're not breathing properly and you're freaking out because you've got adrenaline rushing around your body, that really simple muscles lifting up and out of the way for your baby to be born is going to be a tricky thing. So it's not going to be as effective. And this is why sometimes you hear of women being in labour for like 3 days, having to need forceps or all the pain relief in the world. It's probably because they're in this this is kind of like a vicious circle. So if you're scared, you feel really tense, and if you tense up, your muscles won't work properly, and it makes things really painful. And then you feel pain, so it kind of, I was right to feel fearful, so you become more tense and it becomes more painful, and then you're in this vicious circle, which is really quite hard to get out of. Here it is, negative cycle. So you've got the fear, you've got your tension, you've got your pain, you go round and round. And what is really important is that you go into your labour with some tools of how to bring you back down, so how to relax you. And we talk about this a lot in my hypnobirthing courses, but things like, instead of adrenaline being produced, which is not really the one you want in labour, there are points in your labour where you need a bit of energy, but really you don't want adrenaline there. You want your happy hormones, you want your love hormones, you want your oxytocin, you want your endorphins, you want those to flow, which helps birth go along a bit quicker and helps everything work. So you want to kind of enjoy it, and you want to accept that your body's doing it, and you want to learn to relax. And then you become a bit more of a positive circle. And like I said, it's a physiological process. Your body knows how to do it. You don't need to do anything really mentally. You just need to be calmer. You need to accept the process. You need to relax, and then hopefully it'll be a more positive thing. And that'll be a swifter, more successful labour. Obviously, there's loads and loads of parts to it. It's not just hormones, but we'll hopefully cover a couple of more bits through. So I can't see the top. Tips to break the fear cycle. So I honestly believe that knowledge is power. I think going into your labour, knowing things like what your uterus muscles are doing, knowing about what it looks like if you're producing adrenaline compared to producing things like oxytocin. So you produce oxytocin when you're in your happiest place. So oxytocin is produced when you're laughing out loud, when you're eating your favourite food, when you're having sex, when you're having cuddle, when you're petting a dog, when you're watching your favourite movie or listening to your favourite songs. Have you ever watched something? I remember watching Glastonbury a couple of years ago and having like goosebump feeling when like your favourite band's on. That's an oxytocin rush, so that goosebump feeling. Oxytocin is what you want in labour. So I really think that knowledge is power, and the more you know about what your body's doing and how you can aid things to be easier, the better. Also knowledge of the system, so things like what is in your hospital that you're going to, or your at home, whatever your trust looks like, where do you go, what does the place look like, what's their policy on inductions, what if you're going to be induced, what does that look like, what else could you ask midwives, what are the stats on C-sections in your area? So where I am, women are a bit older having babies because we're close to London. So C-section rates are quite high around me. So no, why is it more likely that C-sections are higher where you are? The knowledge really is power. So even if you don't do anything else after today, maybe just listen to some podcasts about hypnobirthing, or get a book. I'll tell you the book I recommend. Where is it? So I used to teach this syllabus. This is a really good book. It's quite a nice, easy read. It's Your Baby, Your Birth, Holly de Cruz. So I used to teach this one. And if you do nothing please buy this, but it's on Audible as well. So you can, excuse me, you can just, yeah, you can listen to it. So yeah, preparation is key. Going in with, some people don't like the word birth plan because it seems a bit rigid. So maybe like your preferences, I like to say. So things like, what do you want the room to look like? What do you want conversations around you to happen? What about when the baby's born, what's really important to you? Is skin to skin really important? Is breastfeeding really important? Go in there with some preferences, and you can write them down and stick them in front of your pregnancy notes and ask the midwife just to read them. So things like, please no conversations in the room while I'm in labour, or please dim the lights, or no student midwives, sorry student midwives, but you know, sometimes they don't like, people don't like too many people in the room, and you're allowed to ask for all that stuff as a patient. So have confidence in your body, your choices, and your birth partner. So your birth partner and you are going to be the team, and your birth partner needs to know as well what all your preferences are and what you want and you don't want, because when you're in labour, especially when you establish labour, it's a very hard thing to describe, but you feel very inward. I definitely went inwards, and I couldn't have told you. I remember the room was quite nice, but I couldn't have told you where the light switch was or what was written on the walls. I was very inward. So your birth partner needs, he or her is going to be quite aware of what's going on. So your birth partner needs to be quite on top of things to make sure that you're getting the birth that you want. So if you want to stay in your oxytocin bubble in labour, you don't want any adrenaline kicking in, have a conversation of things that might really stress you out in labour. So things like language. If someone says to you, oh, are you in pain? That might really annoy you because you might not be feeling too much in pain, but then you've planted the word pain in your head. Now all you can think about is pain. So you can say to the midwife, look, can you just avoid that language like pain? And I know it might feel like you're a bit of a fusspot, but honestly, it's your birth. This is one of the biggest days of your life. You've got to make it what you want it like. So have confidence in your birth partner to advocate and support you. Confidence in your choices that you're going to make, and confidence in your body, ladies. Create a calm pregnancy bubble. This is really good. So like we're saying about your subconscious brain, if you list, I'll send you at the end of this, by the way, some like hypnobirthing tracks you can download and listen to at night. I'll put it all in an email. But if you're listening to really positive things about pregnancy, create a bubble, especially if you're coming near the end of your pregnancy. Create this little bubble now of, I don't want to talk about negative birth. I don't want to see these stories. And even things like, if Boris Johnson's doing your head in, stop watching the news, unless it's a big day and somebody needs to tell you. But things that might trigger you and stress you out, watch the lovely things. Get Love Island on, unless that stresses you out, then don't watch Love Island. But yeah, just kind of, yeah, look after yourself. A big one to kind of break that fear is, the negative cycle is to release your fears. So if you're really absolutely terrified of something, and you might not want to tell me, don't worry about it, but I'm just going to pull something out of the air. So you might be really, really scared of tearing in your labour, which I get, you know, but you could do some research and say, well, how can I prevent tearing in labour? So it could be that you try the birth pool. It could be that, we'll talk about positions in a minute, but you think about some positions that are a bit more optimal to stop tearing. If you're really scared of something, and maybe that you've had a really traumatic first birth, then you have to work on things a bit harder, and that's where the hypnobirthing really comes in, I guess. Yes, fill your brain with positivity. And if you want, you can drop me a message. If you want some websites for me to send you to like listen to positive birth stories, then let me know. I can send you some recommendations. Trust the process of having a baby. People have been doing this for a long time. And it's only like this century where we've started going to hospitals and taking all the drugs. It was kind of Queen Victoria that started it. Before then, people just have all their babies. Like my nan had like 6 of her kids in a living room. You know, people have done this for a long time. There was a story in the news a couple of years ago. I screenshotted it. There was a lady in Mozambique, a pregnant lady with a toddler, and the village she lived in, Mozambique, like flooded, like all the houses were flooded. And she was on a roof, I think, and she gave birth on the roof, holding onto a toddler, and it was on the BBC News. So trust the process. You know, we're not that lady in Mozambique holding onto a toddler in a flood. And enjoy it. And I know that sounds really baffling for some people who are feeling nervous about birth, but enjoy it. I explained my birth as like a nice day, even though the ending was a bit dramatic, that my son is a nonconformist every day, so it doesn't surprise me now, but enjoy it. It's a really nice day, especially if you've got other kids at home. It's almost like a day off. A day off, you've got no other kids around you. And remember oxytocin. Oxytocin is your best friend when it comes to starting labour, when it comes to being in labour, oxytocin, and also if you want to hoping to breastfeed, oxytocin is the one to encourage the flow and things like that. Right. So anyone got any questions? Like unmute yourselves if you've got any questions. I know this is a heck of a lot of info, like in 10 minutes. If there's nobody, I'll carry on chatting. No? Cool. Ooh, clunk. Right, so we're going to talk about optimal birth environment. So like I said, it's up to you where you have your baby. You can have your baby at home. You can have your baby in a midwife-led unit. You can have your baby on the consultant-led ward. I don't recommend you have a free birth and have it like in the woods or anything. I wouldn't recommend that. But otherwise, it's completely up to you where you have your baby. It's really important that you create this optimal environment wherever you are. So it's all about the senses, and these are all really big oxytocin inducing things. So wherever you have your baby, you want a kind of peace of home. You want to feel, you know, when a cat has their kittens, they go behind the sofa, they go at the back of the airing cupboard, they go in a drawer or something. And apparently I had some farmers on my last group course, apparently unless it's like they're in the lambing shed, if there's a sheep like having a random lamb, they'll go like behind the tree in the middle of the corner of the field, like far from everywhere. So you've got to think kind of primal when you're having a baby. You don't want those people looking at you. You don't want to feel observed, because then you'll change the way you act. You don't want people staring. You don't want the lights really bright. You don't want to be lying flat on your back. So just think about all your senses. And this obviously will be absolutely personal to you, what makes you calm and happy. So smell is a really good one, especially if you're going into hospital, because hospitals smell really weird if you're not used to a hospital. And smell's a really powerful sense. So to kind of get over that, you could, if you're using any essential oils like lavender or anything like that, most hospitals allow you to take in a diffuser. If you've got like an electric plug-in diffuser, and you're allowed to take those in. But you could go to a chemist or wherever near you and get like a lavender pillow spray or one of those roller balls that you could just put on your wrist. And if while you're in your pregnancy, sniffing these nice things, lavender might make you sleepy, by the way. So if you're working in the day, be careful of the lavender. But at bedtime, so if you put some pillow spray on your bed that's lavender smelling, take that in with you, spray it on the bed, and you will feel so much better. So smell's a really powerful one, especially if you're using it throughout your pregnancy, because when you go into labour, it will be like an anchor for you to chill. So if you're used to that lovely smell and you take it with you, your body will be like, I know what this smell is. This smell reminds me of being calm and reminds me of being at home. So smell's a really good one. It could just be your other half's nice aftershave or whatever. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Or it could just be your nice, whatever you wash your clothes with, if you've got really nice detergent you like. So yeah, smell. And then you've got sound. So sound again is a big one for me. Like I'm a big music fan, so it was a really good one for me to take, and it's really adaptable. So get some playlists on the go. Get Spotify on both of your phones. Do a birth music track. Obviously, guys, be sensitive that she might not want, like, I don't know, drum and bass or whatever while she's having a baby. She might want something quite calm. Maybe do like a energy track and a chilled out track. So yeah, taking your music with you. I'll send you some relaxations if you haven't got any already, but they're really nice to listen to in labour as well as being pregnant. So the kind of chilling, positive relaxations things. And it could be things like, I know it says in sight as well, but funny films or videos of if you've got kids or dogs. So get all your favourite things that really make you laugh. Like with me, I've got 90,000 photos of my son. If I was going into labour, I'd probably pick out the really funny videos of him when he was like 2, falling over or whatever. Maybe that's not so funny. You know what I mean. But yeah, things that would make me laugh in labour, I'd definitely be like putting into my favourites. Touch is another really good one. In my hypnobirthing courses, I teach the birth partners how to do a soft stroke massage on their partners, which doesn't include any muscle. Like you don't have to be a masseuse, it's all kind of tickly massage. But taking in things like your own pillow or your own clothing that you'll feel comfortable in. Reflexology is a really good thing to do towards the end of your pregnancy. And then touch, like skin to skin cuddles, is a massive oxytocin thing. So you might want your other half really close to you in labour. You might not, by the way. Don't be offended, guys, if you don't. You might want them on the side. But, you know, just like a gentle, reassuring touch, especially in the theatre. So if you happen to end up in theatre, you know, just your other half holding your hand and just like telling you you're okay, that can be quite nice. By the way, you might not want that. And then you've got sight. So I'll show you a photo in a minute. I'm talking candles. Obviously, you can't take proper candles into a hospital, but you can buy those plasticky ones, LED candles on Amazon for quite cheap. If you've got any fairy lights, if you're due towards the end of the year and you're getting the Christmas decorations out, battery-operated fairy lights can be a game changer to change how the environment feels. So in a really stark hospital room, you could turn the lights down, put some fairy lights up, you know, feels like Christmas. Everyone loves Christmas. In the site, you've got affirmations, so like reading positive things. So I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to affirmations. This is on my desk, like I've got positive things all around me, like I love it all. And that's really good for like subliminal messages. So if you've got something where you hang out, I don't know, at home, like near the kettle or next to the toilet or something, put positive statements up about birth. It could be birth is safe or my baby's healthy. And when you walk past that every day, sinking in your subconscious, you might not be consciously reading the words, but it really does sink in. Right, and then you've got taste. So pack the good snacks, guys, when you're going into the hospital. Hospital food's not the best. Pack the good snacks. You may not be very kind of much of an appetite when you're in established labour, but in early stages of labour and towards the end of your pregnancy, eat like you're going to run a marathon, like get the slow release carbs, pasta, brown rice, chicken, pizza, get it all in and get your favourite things, because good taste is a big oxytocin inducer. Just another note to say is drink loads of water. So if you're towards the end of your pregnancy and you think you're drinking 2 litres, drink 3 litres. Honestly, you don't want to go into labour dehydrated. Oh, hang on, I'm going to stop sharing and then because it's going to send me somewhere else. Hang on. Any questions on all this? I know this, again, this is a lot of info. You all okay? Yeah, cool. Let me show you this video. This is a video of a midwives. This is just off my Instagram. All right, I'll start again in a minute. This is just a midwives in a consultant-led room, shifting at how it looks. So they've gone into the consultant-led room and it looks very medicalized. You're allowed to push the bed to wherever you want to, by the way. Push the bed against the wall, lift it up so it's more like a sofa. They're shifting all the kind of wheelie trolleys out the way and they're putting the fairy lights up. And just how nice it does that look compared to how it began. I'll let it start again so you can compare. But that's what it could look like, but compared to the fairy lights, it makes a massive difference to how you'll feel. You'll feel really calmer, you'll feel less observed. You'll feel like that little cat having a baby at the back of an airing cupboard. I'll show it one more time, it's dead quick. Look at that, doesn't that look nice? Right. So, this goes so quickly. Honestly, like I said, I could talk about birth forever. Any questions? If you've got questions and you're a bit shy, you can just drop them in the comments. I'll carry on with my slides. I've got well used to Zoom. Right. Birth positions. I'll drop this in the email as well when I email you all, probably tomorrow with the downloadable MP3s. So upright, forward, open is the big thing. UFO, you might hear this if you're doing like an NCT group or something. But being upright, being forward and being open has massive benefits in labour. I'll read the stats. So making space in your pelvis. So if you're upright and you're forward, I'll talk through the positions in a sec. You can increase space in your pelvis by up to almost 30%. Surge's contractions can be more effective. You're 23% less likely to need medical intervention, so things like forceps, 1-2s. Babies, 50% less likely to become distressed. Labours can be shorter. C-section rates reduced by almost 30%. 21% reduced in episiotomy, where they cut the skin down below, and reduced need for the epidural. So by being upright, forward and open is really important. So lying flat on your back to have a baby. Oh, hang on, I've got a pelvis here. Give me a sec. Sounds weird, doesn't it? Let me get my fake pelvis. If you lie, so this is a pelvis. This is where your bones are. So your baby, if you're near the end of your pregnancy, is probably down here by now. If you lie flat on your back to have a baby, baby's got to go uphill. I haven't got a baby. Hang on, is there a kid's teddy in there? When baby's being born, it's got to go uphill to be born. If you're lying flat on your back, this is your tailbone. Your bones will be quite tight because you put a lot of pressure on them. And baby has to go uphill to be born. So, it's had quite a little journey already going through all this labour. And then it gets to kind of 10 centimetres, you've got to push the baby out. If you're lying flat on your back, they've got to go against gravity. So this is why I really encourage, if you can, is not to be flat on your back. So if you have to lie down, say if you're knackered or you've had an epidural, you can still be on the bed. But remember that video, put the bed up so your back's not flat, and maybe you could lie on your side. So if you lie on your side, baby, it's not against gravity, it's kind of around a corner instead. And that's, so you always have to remember the end where baby's being born, you put the pelvis down. It's like a J shape. So with that in mind, here are some good positions. So this covers it all, because I'm not telling you to be upright and dancing around, especially if you're in a long labour. So if you've got a labour that's maybe longer than a day, you're going to be tired, I get that. So if you are tired, you can still be in an optimal position. So look at this lady, she looks done in, doesn't she? But she's on all fours, which is really great. She's leaning over the ball, and if you can see the arrow on my computer, that J shape is down, so gravity's with her. You really want gravity on your side. And she's got her legs a little bit wide, so her hips and her pelvis are open. You want to make as much space as you can for baby to be born. You don't want them squeezing in at the end and having to go uphill, because they're going to get stressed out, and you'll need intervention to help the baby out at the end. Another knackered lady, like her, I like this one here. I quite like her, even though she's sitting on her tailbone. Gravity, it's not going uphill as such, and that's still quite a good position because she's got her legs a little bit wider. 8:15. This one, so this lady may be asleep, but she's not lying on her back. So she's not lying on her back and pushing her tailbone up, making that space smaller. And she's got her knee raised slightly. So she's probably lying on her left-hand side, but she's got her knee on a pillow. So if you've had an epidural, and it might likely that you can't stand, don't lie flat on your back. Either lie propped up a little bit, so if that was a bed, like kind of propped up, or lie on your side. And both partners, if your partner's had an epidural, you can help her move a little bit. So it's really important. Let me get my pelvis back a minute. Being a little bit active in labour is really good. So when baby's being born, baby rotates 180 degrees, and that's what babies do in every labour. So they're in the optimal position to being born. For that, baby needs to be in a good position, needs to be straight. So if baby's a bit wonky, say if you're lying flat on your back and baby's kind of gotten a bit of a nook, baby's not going to be able to do that rotation because they're going to come up against something. So your pelvis needs to be in a good place for baby to be in that position to spin around at the end to be born. So if you've had an epidural, what you can help both partners is make sure she's lying on her side or in a more upright position, and just give her a little rock now and again. So you could hold her knee here. Obviously, you've got to be gentle and make sure she's okay with it. But give her a little rock to make sure baby's not getting stuck in a little nook, so baby can do that spin. Early stages of labour, you could have a nice bath. Turn that to a toilet. Loads of people birth on the toilet. Loads of women spend loads of time on the toilet. It's a really comfy position to be in. So you can make sure your toilet's clean, obviously, but you could lean on the cistern with a nice pillow. That's a good one to be. Birth balls are great because there's no pressure, because it's bouncy, there's no pressure on your bones and stuff. And then bouncing helps baby not get stuck in any nook, so they can do that spin. You might want your partner with you, by the way. If you're not a cuddly couple, you might surprise yourselves in labour, because I'm the same. When I'm ill, I don't want anyone near me. But when I was in labour, I had Owen by the collar. I wanted him that close to me. So if you want that, there's some positions where both partners can really support you. So leaning over his knees, leaning into him here, and that could be quite nice. Standing up, so you're just kind of rocking with each other. So yeah, I'll send this on the stats as well. So just to be mindful about what position you're being in. And this one here, So she's being monitored in a consultant-led room. So you might have to be monitored in labour, depends if you've got something that they need to monitor. Just because you're being monitored doesn't mean you need to lie on a bed. You can lean over your bed. You can use all these things. So you could be monitored here. You could be monitored here. If you've got wireless monitoring where you've allowed it in the water, you allowed it there. Before I change the slide, by the way, give the water birth a go if it's a choice. Water is, a massive pain relief. For me, I got in the pool when I was about 5 centimeters, and I'm not saying this to exaggerate, it was like 70% better. Before I got in the pool, I thought I'm going to need all the drugs in the world. And I got in that water and it takes all the pressure off you. And I felt like I was in my safe like bubble. And I'm not kidding you. It went from I'm going to need all the drugs to, oh yeah, I've got this. I can do this. It's not pain-free, by the way. But I went from really, really being really uncomfortable and very painful to being, oh yeah, no, I've got this. I felt quite powerful. So give the water, if you've got availability, get in that water, give it a go because you might love it. If you don't love it, you can hop out, but please give it a go if possible. Right, told you it would go quick with my chatting on. So we're going to end on a calm breathing. So breathing in labour is really important. Like I was saying about the adrenaline, you can calm your adrenaline down by concentrating on your breath. So this calm breathing technique is one to use. I use this in life, like when my 3-year-old's driving me nutty, or when I'm on call to the doctors for like an hour trying to get through to them, I use my calm breath to chill myself out. This is a really good one to have in between your contractions. It could be an early labour. You could have 10 minutes between your contractions, so do some good breathing. By concentrating on your breathing, it calms your brain because you're concentrating on something. It calms your nervous system and your adrenaline will go away, hopefully. And also by concentrating on your breathing and do some deep breathing, it sends your blood and your oxygen to the muscles that need it in labour. So your uterus needs it mostly. And if you're doing calm breathing, it's sending the oxygen around, it'll go to the uterus that needs to do that lifting. So let's have a practice. So get your feet nice and flat on the floor. If you're sitting, sit a bit upright so you can have a good lung capacity. I suppose a disclaimer, like I'm asthmatic, so I don't have much air capacity, but you might be a swimmer and you might have more. So don't worry too much if the numbers don't work for you. Give it a go and you might find you need to breathe out less or you need to breathe out more. But first of all, you breathe in through your nose for about 4 seconds. So you go, and then you hold it for about a second. So you can either exhale for your nose or your mouth. I prefer my mouth, or you might like your nose. And then you exhale for longer. So you inhale for about 4, hold it, and then exhale. I can get about 8 on an exhale. Let's try that again. Breathe in for about 4, and then exhale. So if you have a wobble in labour and you think, oh my God, I've got to breathe and I've forgotten what I'm meant to do, I've got a tip for you. So wherever you are in the room, you can find a rectangle. So right now I'm looking at my laptop and the screen's a rectangle. It could be your phone, it could be the window, it could be a radiator. You can find a rectangle wherever you are. And with that rectangle, breathe it. So inhale the short part, hold it, and exhale the long part. Inhale the short part, exhale the long part. So yeah, if you have a wobble, just think the rectangle breathing. I had a lady who was following me on Instagram. I didn't actually work with her, but she messaged me after she had a baby, in Aber actually. And she went, oh, I really want to thank you because I read your something about the rectangle breath and I just breathed out the door for the whole of my labour. And she said it really helps because it gives you something to concentrate on. So it stops your mind freaking out because you're concentrating on something. Right, I think that's the end. Oh yeah, that's me. Hey, now people are allowed. I met a client's baby. So this is a client's baby who was born March time. I met them the other week. And it's so nice to be able to like have human contact. These are some quotes that people I've worked with. Obviously I need to do a bit of I'm here if you need help. This is not a sales pitch. I'm not on Dragon's Den, don't worry. But yeah, hypnobirthing, birth education, birth prep will make a difference. I like the control freak one. So I think lots of women kind of would say I'm a bit of a control freak, but Being a control freak, Carys made it possible for me to let go of expectations and take the whole process as it came and to believe in my body. I quite like that one. Right, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see your faces. That was a lot of info in 40 minutes, wasn't it? Any questions, comments, anything? And if there's any midwives in here, please like also ask if you're interested. Birth partners, how are you feeling about supporting your other halves in labour? Are you feeling prepared? Like you're on board with things? Go on, Andrew.
Hi, I was just going to say, well, first of all, thank you.
Oh, thanks.
I've been watching Emily like studying away and doing all the podcasts and all that kind of stuff, and this has been really informative for me. So yeah, so it's not a question; it's more of a thank you, really.
Oh, thanks, Andrew. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You can give him the tips as well, won't you? Make sure you're telling him all the things that you're learning. Alice, where are you? Oh, you're there. Hiya. Alice is asking about hypnobirthing and a C-section. Yes. So, Alice, if you don't mind, do you know you're having a C-section, or is it just in case?
Just in case.
Good. I always recommend that you have, so if you do like a birth preferences or birth plan that you really want this and this, I always recommend at the end having a C-section plan. Because I went in for a C-section, obviously I never planned it. Yeah, I got to 9 centimeters and it was a bit of an emergency. And now I know all the things that could have benefited, especially my son's health. I always recommend you do a bit of a, even if it's just half a page, a bit of a what if this happens. So I would look into something called a gentle C-section. This can happen if things aren't in an emergency situation. So if labour is really long and they say, oh, we're going to do a C-section because we've been in labour 3 days or something, the obstetrician might agree to things. So things to really consider when you're having a C-section. Is it possible to do things like skin to skin in the theatre? So I really recommend having like immediate skin to skin with baby when the baby's born. There's massive benefits. Things like, obviously it's nice. It's really good for your oxytocin, but also it regulates their heart rate, regulates their body temperature. And this is available in a theatre situation. And this is a real big bugbear of mine, that William was born wrapped in like a Mingen hospital towel and then passed to my other half. So that's almost an hour. So after a C-section, there's huge amounts of layers of fats and skins and muscle to sewn back up. It's quite, obviously it's a massive operation. So it can take 45 minutes to get it all done. So you could be in the theatre for an hour, and that's that first hour of baby's life that you're not getting skin to skin. So if you're awake and you've got the energy and you're feeling okay, you can have baby there. They could put the monitoring things on your back rather than on your chest. And you can have that immediate skin to skin, obviously, if you're confident to. So things like that's a really important thing. Is it possible to have things like optimal cord clamping? So optimal cord clamping is not cutting your cord straight away. You wait for it to go to white to get all the blood back into the baby's system. In an emergency, they may not want to because they're getting baby out really quickly. But if it's not an emergency, can they delay that cord clamping in a C-section? Could you have music on? Could you have the dim lights? Could you have the lavender to smell? All these things that, you're still birthing your baby just because it's coming out of your abdomen, not your vagina. You're still birthing your baby. It can still be a beautiful, empowering thing. But yeah, have a little look, have a Google about gentle C-sections. Another big topic, which I could talk about for another whole hour, is seeding the microbiome. So the microbiome is obviously the bacteria the baby comes in contact with when babies are born. And as we know, the good bacteria is really good for gut health and for immunity. When a baby's born from your abdomen, obviously it's very sterile and not getting any bacteria. So people are now starting to do research about the microbiome. Oh, hiya toddler. About the biome, maybe doing like a quick swab and then touching the baby afterwards to encourage that immune system and that gut health, really. Something I wish I knew about 4 years ago. Oh yeah, so there's lots to do. The breathing techniques in C-sections is amazing, especially if you're having the epidural to stay still. Oxytocin is still brilliant in a C-section because it really helps with bonding and breastfeeding. I do a whole course, by the way, for hypnobirthing for C-sections. So I could talk a whole other hour about C-sections. TENS machine, Adriana, honestly, I wish I could tell you yes or no. So this always comes up, and I did a poll on my Instagram, and I said, who used a TENS machine in labour? Did they love it or did they not? And it literally came back like 49% compared to 51. It was so 50-50. I used a TENS machine because I was given one by my sister-in-law. And I found it really faffy, like all the wires, and you have to practice it. Loads of people swear by TENS machines, and they said they would never labour without them. For me, I didn't like the faff of the wires, and I don't think we practiced where to put them properly on your back beforehand. I don't think it was, but some people rave about them. I would say if you know somebody who's had a baby recently, they probably have one in the back of the cupboard. Stick it in the bag just in case, but practice first. Give it a little trial run, maybe on your other half. I'm not sure you're allowed to do it while you're not in kind of labour. But yeah, I'm on the fence about them. Thank you. Any other questions? I'll wait for 2 more minutes and then I'm going to let you guys go and chill. No? You might, if you've got questions like an hour later, by the way, that always like, oh yeah, I should have asked that. Just drop me an email and I'll answer it. Thank you all so much for coming. I'll send you an email tomorrow, so check your junk because my name's a bit random, isn't it? But I'll send some MP3s that you can download and start listening to. I can send the thingamajig, the presentation, if you want to read it again, or I'll screenshot the good ones. And yeah, let me know if you've got any questions. Not a question, but a big thank you. Oh, thank you all so much. It's been lovely. Have a nice day and good luck with your babies. The ones coming soon. My top tips, just chill. Just chill. Enjoy the quiet before baby's born. Go to the cinema on your own. Do that. I did that, but baby didn't come. I remember oxytocin juicing things to help labour come. And eat date fruits. Eat some dates. Bye, everybody. Thank you all so much.